Firelight Radio, don't touch the dock, 'cause here we go. You're just in time for the show at Firelight Radio. Welcome to Firelight Radio, where we tune into the nature folk movement, and it's good to have you by the campfire. And I know what you're thinking, it's odd to have a guitar talking to you by the campfire, but you can't have a nature folk movement without a guitar by the campfire. That's obvious. And boy, do we have a program for you today. We're going to be talking about a particular type of mountains in South Florida, found only in South Florida. And I know what you're thinking, South Florida is very flat. It is, but there is high ground in South Florida. They're called hammocks. And the hammocks usually stay dry during the flood, the annual summer and fall swamp when water tables peak. But the hammocks, you can count on them staying a good foot or two above the water level. But they're not the mountains we're talking about. So without further ado, let's go to the show. On the inside, looking out, that's what the water cycle's all about. Echo hydrology, go hydrology. Welcome to Go Hydrology. This is Bob. I wanted to talk about the saying, you can't move heaven and earth. There's that saying, you can't move heaven and earth. And it means you try real hard at something, but you can't go up and rearrange the stars, I guess, and you can't. Well, we can move the earth a little bit, but not the mountains. You know, if there's a big mountain, you can't move mountains. There's mountains in your way. There's another saying, you can't move mountains. So mountains don't move. But, well, geologically, they do move very slow. But we won't count that. We won't count that because in human time, you can't see it. Unless there's a volcano, then that mountain is, well, sort of blowing up or oozing lava. But in South Florida, we do have moving mountains, and they are our summer clouds. And I'm reminded of that driving into work. I see a cloud off in the distance, and it's a huge cloud. And the Tamiami Trail is basically a straight line between Naples and Miami, but it has some twists and turns. It reminds me of when I was a kid growing up. If you're driving home from grandma's or something, it was evening, the moon would be following you. And wherever you looked, it just felt like the moon's following me. Well, these clouds are kind of the same way. They're just when you think they're straight ahead, they're off to the south. Then just when you think they're off to the south, you're driving right into them. And they're anviling up at the top of the troposphere where it hits the stratosphere, and they're far away. They have a dreamlike quality to them, but then you can see they're also growing. And it's, why is a cloud growing in the morning? And it's because of the land breeze. So during the summer, South Florida has a sea breeze during the day. That's when the interior peninsula heats up, that air rises, and the air from the coast rushes in to fill the void. That fuels those afternoon rise of showers in the Everglades. And when you really have a strong sea breeze, the sea breeze is because it's a peninsula. You know, they're moving in from all direction, they collide, and that convergence is like holding up a tube of toothpaste and pressing on it, and the toothpaste, don't do that, that'll just make a mess, but that kind of enhances the lift, the convectional lift of the airflow. But in the morning, it's odd to see a cloud forming along Miami, but that's because at some point in the evening, towards early morning, the sea breeze shifts and the air at a low elevation starts flowing from the land towards the coast. And when that happens in Miami, a couple things come together. One, Miami, right offshore, off the coast, and you can see it if you're up in a high rise, it's the chop of water, is the warm Gulf Stream. So there's really warm water there, and then that land breeze that's blowing from the Everglades to the east towards Miami, towards the Atlantic, is running head on into the prevailing trade winds that are blowing from east to west. So you have a convergence of winds, and that's why Miami gets the morning rains. A couple times per summer, The prevailing wind won't be the trade winds over on the east coast or over on the west coast of Naples. It'll be kind of a westerly flow. So we'll get the Miami rain sometimes on the Naples-Fort Myers side, depending on, but normally it's Miami that gets the morning rains and Naples gets the afternoon rains disproportionately because those sea breeze fed clouds during the day that rise up in the Everglades and the Big Cypress tend to drift west to Naples. So back to my starting point, moving heaven and earth, moving mountains. These are mountains that truly move, and they move all across the peninsula. You think South Florida is flat, but it has these huge clouds in the summer, and they're moving, and they move somewhat predictably, but also have some surprises in them. You never know in their movement phase how they might expand along a frontal boundary or all of a sudden kind of dissipate. You know, looking at this cloud this morning, I always wonder where those clouds are, and sometimes the closer I get to them, the more they seem to, well, I hone in on their spot a little bit, but then I'll look at the radar, and they always surprise me. They're not quite where I think they are. Yeah, just some thoughts on flat Florida's moving mountains. So you can't move mountains, but Florida's mountains have, well, they must have wheels under them, is all I can figure. I've never spotted the wheels, but I have been under one of those clouds, and it's generated a lot of rain. So maybe the rain is what's moving them around. Well, thanks so much for listening, and we'll talk to you next time.
On the inside, looking out, that's what the water cycle's all about. Echo hydrology, go hydrology.
Well, there we have it, folks, and thank you, Go Hydrology, for that description of some of the summer rain mechanics in South Florida. You know, I think we all have an experience of getting caught in a rainstorm, and maybe that's it's something about rainstorms. Whenever I've been out doing something, I remember going out camping, and, well, it was spoiled by all the rain, but there was something about that rain that just made that camping experience so much more memorable than any of the ones where it was sunny the whole time. So rain will trick you. You know, you always say it's going to be a rain day, and it's a rainy day, and that's not a good thing, but there's something about rain that promotes positive memories, and there's no better way to connect to the nature folk spirit than tuning in to the meteorological happenings that are going on in all corners of the sky at all parts of the day. You know, it's kind of an evolutionary process. It's like watching a flower bloom every day in South Florida, watching those clouds grow. And they are the mountains, even though, well, the true mountains are only a foot above the waterline come summer, the high ground hammock. So, well, thank you for tuning in to Firelight Radio, where we tune into the nature folk movement. I'm just going to strum the guitar a little here around the campfire. You know, I might look like a guitar, but I'm still learning to play. So feel free to hang around and listen to me strum. Otherwise, we'll look forward to talking to you next time.